Hello, hello, mis cielitos, and welcome back. Coco is here, and I'm going to need a bit of help with some things. Hello, ZD, welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. As you might notice, I do not have my avatar up, and that's because, my monitor that is not actually a monitor and just a TV, the one that I kind of use as a second display, is giving me trouble. It always has, but right now it just does not want to function. So I am not able to sort of balance things. I can't have several windows open, and the game kind of just completely goes silent if I ever try to go on to something other than it. So please let me know if things look okay. I'm kind of using my phone to look at it, and it seems like there's this white line at the bottom, so I'm going to have to full screen. I was hoping maybe if I just let me see if that'll get rid of it. I'm not... Okay, there we go. There's just a bit of a delay. Okay, and is the sound coming through okay? Can you hear the music? Can you hear me? Okay, that might just be something on my phone then. Good to know. Thank you. That's why it's good to have someone who can actually watch the stream, just to be sure. Hello, Binks dear. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. Excellent. Then let us get started. The Lord of the Hunt, the Wolf, lay all the Yomibito, cleanse and purify or die. ZD, is it really a stream if there isn't some kind of technical difficulty? No, it is not. It wasn't a dream. Or was it? Cleanse, purify, dream. Oh. Yeah, I also put up the voices. I'm only gonna have this for a tiny bit, but I was like, I want to listen to it at least once, just to hear at least each character's voice. As I mentioned in the first one, I usually have them off because if I had to wait for the actual voice actor and then myself to speak, this would make the visual novel take like twice as long.
At first, we thought the people of Kami Fujiyoshu just made it up to make fun of us.
It is very cute.
But we found out it was true when we became blessed by Shinai-sama himself. Huh. I do like the voice. I guess I was expecting a slightly more stereotypical schoolgirl voice. But I'm glad they didn't. On the day Oji-chan died, he showed up in my dreams and told me about it.
Great Lord Shinai told the real story through dreams, making the people of Yasumisu change drastically. They went from those who hunted wolves to those who hunted humans. It wasn't clear which side was right. I didn't know if there was a right side to this. But I didn't feel much. I didn't get any sort of hatred for the humans or motivation to kill. The first time Yasunaga-kun, Tae-san, and Haru-chan all had some sort of cold, calm anger towards the humans. Last time, Chiemi had said that she was intent on killing me from the start.
Is it wrong that I find this picture kind of hot? It probably is.
As for Mochi, my first impression of him was weird but harmless kid, and that somehow became insane killer.
まあ私らにもいろいろあって最後まであがかないといけないことになってるからさ。もう質問とかやめてよ。面倒。
Oh, thank you, Ziri. We can be degenerates together.
We had our reasons for doing what we did, and we had to keep doing it until the end. So stop it with the questions, they're a pain. However, she'd also said that she was struggling, and it didn't sound like it had anything to do with what she wanted. Regardless of what you were like before, you became a wolf by getting the wolf as your guardian. What was Mamiya-san like in that regard? She had worked as a wolf, but that was either just to survive or because she was urged by Chiemi. There was no zeal or loyalty there, so she ended up being silenced. That meant that the real story only worked on the people of Yasumisu. That was the only way things made sense.
Thanks. I like villainous women, but I prefer cool and calculated rather than psychotic. Valid, valid. Both are good for me. I guess psychotic can get to a point where it's just annoying, but that image, I'm just like,
But if that dreamlike experience was true, then this time the wolves were Haru-chan, Kaori-san, and I, right? I had seen them in the mist and red light, and they certainly didn't look right. I wasn't sure if it was actually a matter of sanity, but they just accepted the event as natural. A change born from the real story. An event set up from the start. No, I also had to consider the possibility that it was just a dream, and that me being chosen as a wolf had nothing to do with it. I still couldn't be sure if they were the other wolves. I absolutely couldn't just go to the dining hall and ask them if they were. I had to wait until tonight. Suddenly...
Fusaishi, you okay?
Haruaki-san? Haruaki-san? 生きてる？ Haruaki-san?
Haruaki-san! Haruaki-san! Are you alive? Haruaki-san! Someone knocked on my door. I quickly wiped off the bloody guardian mark on my stomach. It was dry, so it came off easily. I washed my hands in the bucket and unlocked the door. You're okay.
よかった、Haruaki-san.
Haruaki-san! I'm so glad. I saw Takumi-san armed with a farming tool, and Chiemi, who was so happy about my survival she had tears in her eyes.
I'm just hearing that the yaoi days are over to the song The Dog Days Are Over.
The fact that she was the same person as that vicious mass murderer made it difficult to be happy about this development. If this was an act, This reminded me that she herself had told me I had a bad eye for women. Without any of that, she really did seem like nothing but a gentle, cute young woman. We carefully walked through the mist.
まさか本当に霧が立つなんて不吉なことだって聞いたけど。
The mist actually came. I heard it's a bad sign. Is it?
うん。どこまで聞いたのかな？
How much have you heard exactly?
必ず死人が出るって。
That someone always dies when it comes.
誰だよ。来て早々ろくでもねえこと吹き込んだの。
Who the hell told that to a damn newcomer?
それはまあともかく。まさかどなたか亡くなったんですか？
That aside, did someone die?
いや。
No.
まだ誰も死んでないよ。
No one's dead yet. Good.
もうみんないるんだ。
Has everyone gathered already?
うん、食堂に。ごめん、春明さんを迎えに行くの遅くなっちゃって。
Yeah, in the dining hall. Sorry we came to pick you up pretty late.
みんな霧が出てパニクってんだ。後回しにして悪かったな。
Everyone's panicking because of the mist. Sorry for making you wait.
Of course they'd come for me last. I was at the bottom of the totem pole here. And despite that, I was a wolf. Crap. How was I supposed to survive, Kanzo-san? Can you just die today? Hold on. What was I thinking? Was I actually gonna fulfill my role as a wolf? I would actually create those awful piles of corpses? I didn't want to do that. I wasn't beholden to some weird legend. There was no need for me to play along with this insanity. Honestly, I could just reveal who the wolves were on the first day. I'd keep the sacrifices minimal and... No. That'd result in my own death. I had to think carefully. I had to survive. I had to survive and escape the loop. This wasn't a matter of just leaving Yasumisu or Fujiyoshi. I'd actually ended the feast once and escaped, yet the death loop still continued. Hell, the feast of the Yomi Purge, and the general mystery surrounding Fujiyoshi, still wasn't over. Honestly, I had no confidence if I'd been of the right mind when I decided to actually move to Fujiyoshi. Yeah, I thought that had all... I kind of just assumed it was just... You know, because there's a lot of fictional stories out there that don't really take a realistic path just for the sake of entertainment. So, while I had commented that it had been really weird, I didn't actually think it was an actual plot point, but hey, seems like it is, and very much kudos to that. It felt like all the characters and stage props here were gathered to bring about nothing but tragedy. Until I'd solved all the mysteries here, the supernatural forces here would continue to terrorize me no matter how far I ran. There was the possibility that surviving as a wolf would solve everything, though that wasn't a pleasant thought. Perhaps I'd come back to life, returned from Yomi, over and over because of the local Yomi inhabitants. So in order to solve this, I had to become a wolf and kill them all. Right. This could be the right path.
Haruaki-san?
Haruaki-san?
どうしたの？
What?
どうしたの？難しい顔して。
What's wrong? Something bothering you?
ちょっと いろいろ不安で、これでも結構怖がりなんだ。
I'm kind of worried. I'm actually quite the scaredy cat.
無理はねえよ。
Can't blame ya. Would I have to kill them too?
お前、血とか平気か？
Can you handle blood?
え、どうしてです？
Huh? Why are you asking?
人は死んでないけど、ちょっとね。
No person died, but. Well.
Their expressions turned dark. I saw the plaza.
狼様は3人おる。
There are 3 wolves.
Just like last time, Yamawaki-san was at the Okiba with 3 Yomotsu Okami symbols painted on it.
どういうことです？
What do you mean?
後で教えてあげるからね。
I'll tell you later.
By the way, ZD, have you ever heard of or played the house in Fata Morgana? If you have not, that is on the YouTube list here, and it's actually how I kind of found out about this game, since there was a YouTuber I had who correlated them a bit in storytelling. It's my personal favorite VN. The exchange was exactly as I remembered. I still knew about all this, so I had to be careful to stay in character. I couldn't forget that just about everyone here had their first feast today. They didn't have the knowledge or experience, and no one had killed anyone yet. If I went and said something weird, they'd suspect me, so I had to act like the confused newbie. As I approached the plaza, I noticed a strange stench. Though it resembled the smell of death I was now intimately familiar with, this one felt more beastly.
何があるの？この先。
Just what is that stench?
見ない方がいいよ。
You shouldn't look.
I disregarded her warning and headed towards the source of the smell. Huh. There was a pile of corpses in the middle of the plaza. Though they weren't human. From what I could tell, they were the remains of mid-sized 4-legged beasts. They looked like dogs, but their bodies were in such a terrible shape, I wouldn't have been able to tell if they were foxes, tanuki, or wolves instead. Some had their limbs or heads removed, and a lot were just cut up really badly. Bloody fur, eyes open so wide you'd think they'd fall out. If I had to guess, there were at least 20 of these here in this pile. It was about as tall as the back of a smaller adult. Jesus! Like, you don't really get that impression. You don't really have, like, something to measure it against with just this image, so was not expecting it to be that big. It reeked badly, but more than that, it was just disturbing. Crimson fur, countless fangs, claws, eyes. This seemed like an original idea for a fantasy monster. Indeed, monster was very apt. It was almost a monument dedicated to the Yomotsu Okami. Perhaps this was the example this time.
絶対触んなよ。後で全部皿長に捨てる。
Don't touch it. We're throwing it in the Saranaga later. I wasn't planning on touching it. It was basically a heap of potential diseases. Wouldn't dumping it in a river be illegal, though? Screw it. This wasn't the time to worry about stuff like that.
春明さん、意外と平気？
Haruaki-san, you seem strangely calm.
まあ、犬の死体とかは街でも見るし、これが人間だったらどうなったかわからないけど。
Well, you see dog corpses in town every now and then. Not sure how I'd feel if it was a person. It probably wouldn't affect me much at this point, to be honest. I'd seen too many horrible human corpses. I mean, quite frankly, it didn't seem to affect you any of the other times. At least not too badly. You're alive. Outside the dining hall, there was Kanzo Makishimashi, gun in hand. Along with him was... Visaishi-kun.
Ohayo.
Good morning. At the entrance, there was Mamiya-san, who looked uneasy, and Hashimoto-san, who looked strangely composed. After greeting them, I went inside. Man, I hope we don't kill... I hope we don't kill Hashimoto-san first. I want him to stick around for a while. He seems such a sweet dude. Haruaki Fusaishi-san is okay too.
これで全員だな。
That's everyone then.
まあ、よかったわ。
My, what a relief. I looked around and yeah, everyone was here. A total of 16. What a party. At one seat, there was Haru-chan. Her face was pale, and her two friends were seated next to her.
ここにいたら安全だから。
It's safe in here.
ご飯食べれそう
Wanna eat?
無理。
I just can't. She hated the mist before, but this time it seemed even worse. She also made herself as small as possible, and it felt like she was averse to their care. This seemed like a mix of her fear of the mist and the rejection of the villagers she'd had as a badger.
というか、休みずで一番怖がりなんだよね、はるちゃん。
I'd just say she's the greatest scaredy cat here. Scaredy cat.
昔話の汚れとか、昔からすごく怖がってたし、ある意味、汚れるのを嫌がってたのかも。
She was always really afraid of all the corruption talk. Maybe she was just scared of getting corrupted.
だから、はるちゃんが狼でも、誰も殺したりできないと思うんだな。
That's why I don't think Haru-chan could kill anyone if she was a wolf. A girl who was afraid of the corruption. It started 8 years ago when she tried to visit Yasumisu, when it was covered in mist, and saw something. That had to be it. The idea, or certainty, that the people around her were Yomibito had to scare her pretty badly. Maybe she really was a wolf. Kaori-san, on the other hand, looked okay. That thought came too soon. A moment later, I heard a crash from behind the counter.
ごめんなさい。片付けるわ。
I'm so sorry. I'll clean it up.
あ、僕がやります。というか、下働きなのに手伝いもせずすみません。
Oh, let me handle it. Hey, I'm supposed to be working here. Sorry for not helping. Without waiting for a response, I hurried behind the counter. There was broken porcelain on the floor, along with some rice and soup. The same food as last loop, basically. I already knew what was where in the kitchen, so I wetted a cloth, wrung it out, and started wiping it up. Then I spread out a newspaper and collected the porcelain. Suddenly, I felt something touch my upper arm. I turned around and saw Kaori-san crouching and staring at the floor with a pale expression. He was shaking. I could tell from her touch. There were tears in her eyes, and her half-open mouth made her look like she was about to sob. Her whole body was basically saying that she couldn't bear this.
香織さんは気分が悪いみたいだ。ちょっといいかな、安永くん、吉次くん。
Kaori-san isn't feeling too good. Yasunaga-kun, Yoshitsugu-kun, can you come over?
母さん大丈夫？
Huh? Mom, are you okay?
具合悪いのに無理してんじゃねえよ。
Don't force yourself, hag. As they helped her get up the stairs, Kaori-san looked at me with eyes that seemed both pleading and scornful. It felt like she was asking if she really had to kill these wonderful children with her own hands. This mission was too much for her to bear, and from what I could tell, she wanted to share the burden with me to make it easier for herself. It was safe to assume that the dreamlike experience had, indeed, showed me the other wolves. Calm down. Though it seemed pretty conclusive to me, this was just day one. We had the mist, the wolf symbols, and the pile of dog corpses, so it wasn't weird for a sensitive woman to become a bit sick. Even Chiemi and Hisako-san didn't look so good. The only ones who were clearly okay were Rikako-san, who looked like a no mask most of the time, and Meiko, who probably had her eyes hidden. As long as they didn't act any more suspicious, it was all good.
配膳は僕の方でします。近持くん、君の後ろにある棚から丼を一つ持ってきてくれないか？
I'll serve the food. Chikamochi-kun, can you get me a bowl from that shelf?
おお、すでに置き場を熟知してるとは。だが、僕のことはモッチーと呼ぶがよい。
Whoa, you already know where everything is. You can call me Mochi, though. I might have been the one in trouble here. I told him to call me Hassan, and decided that I had to act more ignorant of things. After we ate, I pretended to be busy in the kitchen. Kami and Rikako-san looked like they wanted to talk, but I avoided them because I felt I might accidentally spill the beans to them. Of course, we had to wait until Takumi-san and the Oribe brothers cleaned up the plaza, and I had tons of things to wash. Last time, the feast began at about 9, but now that Kaori-san had gone to bed for a second time, it had to happen later. It didn't show any signs of starting even at noon, so we had lunch.
獅子肉使わなきゃね。私切るよ。
We gotta use the shishi. I'll cut it up.
てめえ釜で米炊けんのかよ。仕方ねえな。やってやっから。
You can't boil rice in a kettle. Screw it, I'll do it. I got some unexpected help, so I ended up having only to cut the veggies and add spice. We ended up with lots of decent rice and pork. Or soup. I hadn't expected Yoshitsugu-kun to know how to boil rice. That's a little rude. He'd probably helped out Kaori-san a lot.
はるちゃん、食べられそう？
Haru-chan, feel like eating?
食べるわよ。あと、慣れ慣れしく下の名前で呼ばないでほしい。
Yeah, and don't call me by name.
失礼いたしました、お嬢様。
Apologies, milady.
やめてよ。パンツマンのくせに。
Stop it, undie man. I hadn't accepted that name, but trying to resist it would have probably made her antagonistic towards me, so I just laughed it off.
心配かけてごめんなさい。いい匂いね。誰がしてくれたの？
Well, I was talking more specifically about the boiling rice part. Because I feel boiling rice is a pretty straightforward thing to do. The other stuff, you know, like cutting up stuff, knowing what spices to use, alright, yeah, that. But the boiling rice, I'm like... I'm sorry for making you worry. What a nice smell. Who made it?
ちえみと吉次くんの手伝いのもと、大体春明さんが。
Oh no, Ziti. Have you seen terrors? Haruaki-san, Yoshitsugu-kun and I helped out.
まあ、義継もありがとうね。
Ziti has seen people set spaghetti on fire, so you can't trust. Bing says, can you imagine if Yasunaga or Takumi had been a wolf with Haruaki? Poor guy has two fragile partners instead. Fingers crossed it works out somehow. Yeah, that would have been probably the most unfair possible combination. Those three. Oh my. Thank you, Yoshitsugu.
飯炊いただけだっつうの。
I just boiled some rice.
食べられそうですか？
Do you think you can eat?
ええ、いただくわ。
Yes, I'll have some. Everyone noticed that her face was as pale as before, but no one pointed it out. Hanzo-san was beginning to become irate, and it was clear we had to begin the feast soon.
これ食ったらやるか、おやっさん。
We're doing it after eating. Everyone, even Kaori-san, understood what was going to happen. No. Two people didn't. Yeah, I was wondering where Nosato-san and the old man were.
いや、上の道路が塞がってるのは分かりましたけど、下の沢を通れば出られるんじゃないんですか？
He's referring to them, but I'm like, where are they? Are they still just... I mean, I guess since they said they had gathered them all up, they are here, they just haven't commented. Oh, I understand that the road is blocked, but can't we get out by crossing the stream below?
下は危ないのだよ。
There we go.
気持ちはわかるがね。あえて試さずに救助を待つ方が良いのではないかね。
Hello, Xerox. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. God, yeah, that, They'll be ballsy if they do something with Mako, and that'll be very sad. Ziti. It's dangerous. I understand how you feel, but it might be best to just wait for help.
さっき芹沢さんは救助は来ないって言ってましたよ。一体何が起きてるんですか？
Terisawa-san just said that no one would come. What's going on here?
まあまあ、おばあさん。いずれ説明はあるんですよね。
No need to rush it. Mum, you explain it to us, yes?
ええ。この後、宴の時に話しますよ。
Alright, so now I'm just waiting to hear the old man. And then we'll go back to how things are regularly. Yes, I'll tell you about the feast later.
今してくださいよ。妙なことに参加する気はないんですが。
Do it now. I don't want to participate in something I know nothing about.
ケイちゃん、まあまあ。
Yu-chan, no need for that. Hearing them talk made me nervous, but at least they kept everyone on their toes. Or was that a bad thing for us wolves? The only thing the humans could do against the wolves was lynch. So we had to keep their motivation to do that to a minimum. At the very least, that was relatively easy today, when no one had died so far. Hanzo Makishimashi would definitely insist we hang someone, and I had to somehow shoot him down. Of course, I had to avoid standing out in a way that would affect my chances further down the line.
やるぞ。集会堂へ行け。
It's time. Go to the hall. We all lined up, and the eldest went in first. They joined their hands and hid their faces. It was a unique sight, and once again, I copied them. Like last time, I ended up at the lower end of the group, but the complete outsiders were below even me.
いいんですか?
Is this really okay with you?
恥じゃないと邪魔くさいでしょ、僕。
I'd be in the way if I wasn't at one end of the group, right? I couldn't give any strong agreement, so I just gave him a light, in response. Tai-san declared the start of the feast, and Rikako-san handed out some divine sake. Aren't you driving?
しばらくはなさそうだよ。
Won't be for a while. Hashimoto-san drank 3 full cups without anyone urging him to, and Mamiya-san griped that he was drinking too much. He'd also had 3 more helpings of lunch, and it was appropriate for someone his size, so I hadn't even commented on it. Which... Never. With him being the first to drink, the rest of us were a bit taken back. Then, Tai-san explained the legend and the feast. That sounds like a crime to me. Just like last time, after asking this and that, Mamiya-san eventually took that strong stance on the whole thing.
しかし、やらんと死ぬのはあたしらなのよ。
But if we don't do it, we will die of ourselves.
But...
最後まで聞こう。意見を言う前に、まず聞くべき質問がたくさんできそうだ。
Let's listen until the end. Then we'll have time for questions, and we can share our thoughts. Okay. Mamiya-san still had a stern expression, but her cool temperament made her seem like a completely different person from last time. After that, Yasunaga-kun pointed out things Tai-san missed, like the amount of people the wolves could kill, the extra info on the spider, and whether any of us were in a feast before. Then...
そのカゴというのはどうやって通知されるものでしょうか?
How do you know if you have a guardian? Hashimoto-san, who wasn't here last time, simply pointed out more info that was missing. Hanzo-san then explained that they appeared on the stomach.
なるほど。だから体を吹かせるのが掟の一つなんでしょうかね。汗だくの肌には神様も触りたがらんと。
I see. So that's why cleaning your body is one of the rules. The god doesn't want to touch sweaty skin.
あんた、意外とよく喋るな。
You talk more than I expected.
ああ、失礼しました。仕事の時はああいう感じの方がやりやすいんで我慢してます。
My apologies. I'm only quiet when I work. It makes it easier, so I restrain myself. He smiled, astonishing everyone yet again. At this point, all the rules except for the badger had been revealed.
なんか調子狂っちまったけどよ。どうすんだ？実際のところ、犬が何十匹か殺されただけで、人は死んでもね。
Well, we kind of went off track, but what do we do now? We got some dead dogs, but it's not like a person died, right?
こんなもん、上藤吉の誰かの嫌がらせじゃねえのかよ。昔はよくあったってばあちゃん言ってたろ。
What if it's just someone in Kami Fujiyoshi trying to intimidate us? Ba-chan said it happens often. That was news to me.
そりゃあ、あたしのおばあさんはね、よう上の人らがふざけて頼みずに獅子の血流したとか言ってたけどね。
Well, my Oba-san said that the people from there used to release shishi blood into the field water.
ないと思うのです。
I do not believe they still do that.
上富士吉の村民の大部分は安水のことを無視しているように見受けられる。そも接点はほぼないのだから。
From what I can tell, most of the people there just downright ignore Yasumisu. There's barely anything connecting the two places anyway.
一部の狩猟関係者は牧島勘蔵氏とつながりがあるが、彼らはむしろ畏敬しておりますからな、あなたを。
Some of the hunting industry have ties to Kanzo Makishimashi. They seem to respect you.
どうだか。
Not sure I trust that.
まあ今、新内さんの元で狩りができるの、肝臓じいちゃんだけだもんね。
Well, Kanzo-ji-chan is the only one who can hunt at the base of Shinai-san. That was some interesting info.
それはともかく、その通りで、今時休みずに悪さしてやろうなんてのは、学校の子らか長者くらいのもんでしょう。
Anyway, good point. The only ones still trying to do something bad to Yasumisu are school children and the village heads.
またそうやって長者を不当に中傷するのかね。彼らもそんなに暇ではないのだよ。
Again with the unfair mudslinging. The village heads are far too busy for that.
不当かな。あの山祭りなんて休みずに対するいじめ以外の何者でもないと思うけど、訴えれば勝てるよ、多分。
Unfair? Their whole mountain festival seems like one big Yasumisu bullying event. I think we would even take them to court and win over it.
ちなみに近持ちよ。
By the way, Chikamochi.
なんだろ
う What?
お前じゃないよな、このいたずら。
You're not the one doing this, are ya?
おお、あり得る。
Oh, that's possible. It was?
しかし残念。いたずら犯として信用されてるのは嬉しいけど、これは僕じゃない。
But too bad. I'm flattered that you thought of me, but I didn't do it.
単純に無理だよね。あんだけ犬をいっぱい集めて殺すのって。
Have you even seen that pile of dead dogs? How could I even do that?
まあそうだよな。
Good point.
まだ僕が野里だった時、誕生日にいっぱいモルモット買ってもらって池に沈めて遊んだことならある。
Oh no, Mochi. When I was still in Osato, I had them buy me a lot of guinea pigs for my birthday, and I played around by drowning them in a pond. I hope that's the line you're just fucking with people.
何それ？
Huh? What?
あ、すいません。こういうやつなんです、モッチーは。
Sorry. That's just how he is.
最低。
You suck!
もうやんないよ。
Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore.
殺すならネズミとかゴキブリにしてよ。
If you're gonna kill something, make it mice or cockroaches.
ネズミを殺すぞ。
Yeah, I'll kill tons of mice. I could tell that the weirdos here were making Mamiya-san uncomfortable, but Hashimoto-san was unfazed as always. I had a feeling that the new info I was hearing here came from the fact that no one had died, so tension levels were low.
とにかくどうすんだよ、宴は。
Anyway, what do we do about the feast?
よろしいかね。
Can I suggest something? He made the first move? I recalled hearing that Takumi-san was the one who moved first the very first time. He revealed that he was the snake. Last time, one of the monkeys, Hanzo-san, suggested that I die. The flow of events had changed, so maybe he didn't have the guardian this time. Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to decide who had and didn't have guardians based on that alone. Just adding Hashimoto had changed the course of discussion completely. And this time, Chami was the girl that criticized Fujiyoshi with her city dweller mentality, basically bringing her back around to how she was in the first loop. Last time, besides the strong words on day one, she stayed passive, only hesitantly making moral objections. By becoming a wolf, she'd greatly changed her approach to the feast. Now, there was Kurinosuke. I'd expected him to suggest we use a popular vote, but...
私は彼に勇気ある代表者になってもらうのが良いと思うのだがね。
I believe he should become our courageous representative. He said that, while pointing at me.
それは僕に死ねってことですか？
Are you telling me to die?
そんな言い方はしたくないが、君はそういう目的でここに来たと聞いた。
I don't want to use such strong language, but I heard that's what you came here for.
最初の一人というのは選びにくいものだよ。しかし、最初の一人がいてこそ、カラスの加護は名乗り出ることができる。
It's hard to choose the first one, but when the first hanging does happen, the crow can reveal themselves. I didn't expect that idea to come from him. That was basically the same approach as Kanzo-san's. Hadn't he voted for me the first day too? Crap.
失礼ですが、ご自分で何をおっしゃってるか理解されてますか？
I'm sorry, but do you have any idea what you're saying?
そうですよ。理由もなく他人に死んでくれとかよく言えますね。
Yeah, how can you tell someone to die for no reason?
言い出しっぺの法則ってのがあるってこないだテレビでやってたぞ。
They said on TV that the first one to talk's the shadiest one. If he was by himself, his suggestion would have no effect. However,
わしも野里の青秒炭に賛成する。
I'm with the scrawny Nosato. He just had to toss that adjective in. His agreement was bad news for me.
どういうこった、おやっさん。
What are you talking about?
人ならば休みずのために死ねる。
A human can die for Yasumisu's sake. I can do that.
その気でおる。じゃがもうしばらくは宴の進め方を見てやらんといかん。
I can do that too, but I need to watch the feast a bit longer.
なんでてめえに見てもらわなきゃなんねんだよ。
Why the hell would we need that?
わしはこれまでに2度読み意味の宴を生き延びてきた。
I've survived 2 feasts. He was telling us now?
どうすればいいかわしにはわかる。
I know what we gotta do.
必ずくくらねばならん。そして人をくくることを恐れれば人は負ける。
We gotta hang, and if humans are afraid of hanging, humans will lose.
植松の若えのにもう一杯ついでやれ。
Uematsu, force him some more. Crap. Things were moving on just like last time. I played it off with some vague words back then, but would it work now?
ちょっと落ち着きましょう。こんな一方的な流れで誰かを殺すことを決めてしまうのは非常に危ない。
Let's calm down. It's extremely dangerous to decide who dies based on only one side of the table.
肝臓さんが言うことは部分的にはわかりますが、万一肝臓さんが狼だった場合も同じことが言える。
I understand some of what Kanzo-san is saying, but we can just as easily say that he's a wolf.
正論は狼にだって使える武器です。正しそうだからって飛びつくわけにはいかない。
Wolves can use logic too. Just because something makes sense doesn't mean we should accept it without question.
安永、そもそも何が正しいというの？くくらなきゃならないのはどうして？
Yasunaga, what is right in the situation? Why must we hang anyone?
タイバーの話じゃ、僕らは宴の外で人を殺すことを禁じられてる。破れば汚れで死ぬ。
According to Taiba, we're not allowed to kill anyone outside the feast. Breaking this law means death.
今ここに16人いて、13人が人、3人が狼。
There are 16 of us here. 13 are humans. 3 are wolves.
宴をやれば、 たとえデタラメに一人殺していっても最終的に狼を殺しきれる可能性はある。でもやらなきゃゼロだ。
If we do the feast and randomly kill one every day, we can get rid of the wolves eventually. But if we don't, our chances are 0.
宴をサボり続ければ狼は一晩に一人確実に殺せるから、13日後に必ず僕らは全滅する。
If we skip out on the killings during the feast, the wolves would just kill one each night and we would die quickly.
ただ僕もわからない。この中に本当に狼がいたとして本当に人を殺す気なのかどうか。
However, not even I'm sure. If there are wolves here, I really don't know if they would kill people.
もしただ単に霧が出て誰かが悪質ないたずらをしてるだけってなら。
If this is just simple mist and the rest is just some sick joke.
狼は本当に来るぞ。
Well, that's much deeper than what I've been giving him.
The wolf is coming! The wolf is really coming!
Everyone was surprised that he suddenly began to speak. I was pretty used to it by now, though.
狼は言うてわかるようなもんじゃね。
Listen, wolves aren't as simple as they seem.
読みは山じゃ。ありゃ山から言われて汚れを振りまいとる。
Yomi's the mountain. I spread the corrupt because the mountain said so.
Yomi is the mountain?
何を言うとるのよ、おじいさん。神内様は人の味方じゃ。
What nonsense is that? Shinai-sama is on the human side.
山に味方もクソもあるもんか。
A mountain doesn't take sides.
山は気まぐれですごい。腹が減りゃこうやって育てたもんを食らう。
Mountain's whimsical and cruel. If it's hungry, it'll eat the people it raised.
俺ら宴するしかねえの。
We got a feast.
Not what she said came as a surprise to me, but I sure didn't expect to hear it from him. I wasn't the only one. The weird way he presented it made most people here uneasy, and maybe even scared.
ジジイも昔宴に出ておった。ボケてもそん時のことは覚えとるんだろう。
Old Fart's been in feasts before. He might be senile, but he remembers it.
狼はくくる。
The wolves gotta hang.
ちょっといいですか？
Excuse me. Everyone looked at me with sharp eyes.
そのかつての読み意味の宴ではどうやって一人くくる人を選んだのですか？
How were the people you hanged chosen in the previous feast?
一人一票で選んだ。
We voted. I guessed as much. Apparently the popular vote was tradition at this point.
今回もそうすべきだと思いますか？
And you think we should do that this time too?
皆さんはどう思われます？
What about everyone else? My question caused some whispers among the people.
そんなもんで決めていいのかよ。
Can we really decide like that?
多数決で選ばれたら文句言わずに死ななきゃならないなんてひどいよ。
I know what you mean. We're condemning people to death by popular vote. It's just too cruel.
でも他に一人を選ぶ方法はない。
But there's no better way to choose.
しっかり話し合って決めればいい。それで決まらねえならくくるべきじゃねえだろ。
We can talk it out. If that doesn't work, we shouldn't hang anyone at all.
しかし全員一致などあるのかね。当の本人は同意することなどなかろう。
You think we would reach a consensus like that? There's no way the potential victim would agree.
はーい。じゃあここでみんなのために死んでもいいよって人、挙手。
Alright, anyone who volunteers to die for us, raise your hand. Chimi had used this to gain everyone's trust. Rikako-san had used this to convey to me that Meiko had a guardian. Basically, it was just pure strategy. If they didn't need to take the risk this time, they simply wouldn't do it. That meant that it was likely that Meiko didn't have a guardian this time. What was I to do here? I thought for a moment and concluded that if I raised my hand here, everyone would gladly hang me. No matter how kind to nature and reasonable they tried to appear, they actually didn't care much about me. Chami and Rikako would value me more than most, but there was no arguing that they favored their own. I could totally imagine them prioritizing everyone else and tearfully voting for me. Otherwise, if my fate had already been decided at that point, they would vote for someone else to send them a message or keep them on their toes. It was definitely a dangerous situation for me. There was one way that might have been able to save me, though. I could do what I'd done last time. By sounding like I could be an asset to them, I'd buy time for myself. And finally reveal that I had a guardian. I'd have to make sure the real one with said guardian was gone at that point, though. That meant using the time I had to find and kill them. Could I really do that, though?
誰もいないよ、匠に。
We've got no one.
威勢のいいこと言っといて、てめえはどうなんだよ、匠に。
You talk big. What about you, though?
俺はまだ死ねない。
I can't die yet. Hmm?
あ、待って。一応注意。カゴを持っている人は注意した方がいい。
Oh, wait. There's a warning. Those with guardian should be especially careful.
どういうこと？兄ちゃん。
What do you mean? He went on to give the starting warning that those with guardian should keep their status hidden. However, it was better to go against that warning when the snake or crow found the wolf, or when a fake appeared, and the monkeys were an exception to that. The explanation for the monkeys was the same as last time. The thing about the snake or crow finding a wolf as well as the appearance of a fake weren't mentioned back then.
カゴ車は狙われやすいから黙ってた方がいい。でも、喋ると圧倒的に有利な場合や黙ると不利な場合は別。
Those with guardians are likely to be targeted, so it's best for them to be quiet. But there are situations in which it is advantageous to speak up, or disadvantageous to keep quiet.
その基準としては、やはり偽物が現れた時と狼を見つけた時というのが分かりやすいと思う。
The prime examples of these situations are the appearances of fakes, or when someone discovered a wolf.
偽物なんて出てくるのか？
You sure will have fakes.
きっと出てくる。
No doubt about it.
Yasunaga went and briefly explained that the wolves had to actively lie to win. He also added that humans should avoid lying as much as possible.
宴のことで嘘をつくのは狼だけ。そうした方が後々困らない。
The only ones who lie in the feast are the wolves. Making that a rule should spare us some trouble.
と思うんだけど、肝臓さん、どうですか？
That's what I think. Hanzo-san, what about you? Everyone got it. And this was the time. Hanzo-san and Yasunaga-kun spent a lot of beginning last time fighting over the lead, despite being both being monkeys. With Haru-chan and Tae-san's death, the one in charge ended up being Takumi-san. If a calm and collected Takumi-san ended up assisting Yasunaga-kun like last time, the wolves would be at a huge disadvantage. Now if Kanzo-san ended up in charge and controlled the feast with an iron fist, the order would collapse, perhaps to our advantage. However, that increased my chances of getting killed. I had to find a balance.
Hi.
Yes. I nonchalantly, yet unhesitantly, raised my hand. A few others followed my lead. Chiemi, Rikako-san, Kaori-san, Yoshitsugu-kun, Yunosuke-shi, Takumi-san, Mamiya-san, Hashimoto-san, Mochi. I'm fine with that. You backed down? Yasunaga-kun and everyone who raised their hands amounted 12, a clear majority. His polite, calm explanation bore fruit. But was Kanzo-san the type to back down in a situation like this? But we're hanging wolves by vote. Ah, so he had conditions for his agreement. Fine by me. Talking ain't getting us anywhere. Hell, all that talking would just get us the same result as a vote, won't it? Well, you have a point. Takumi-ni, what do you think? Alright. This has gotta be a joke. The bardo-no Yasunaga-kun had made Takumi-san agree to something he'd been completely disapproving of. Chiemi had realized that she had to accept it, so she'd given up on arguing and only complained. Hanzo-san had a tendency to strong-arm people to get what he wanted, but he was good at it. We got derailed a bit. We hanging Fusaishi? Things were looking bad for me. Suddenly, I got help from where I least expected it. If you ask me, I don't believe we should hang anyone today. Today? I don't think we should do it at all.
もし殺さなきゃ殺されると明らかになったら僕は殺すよ。
If it's a matter of kill or be killed, I would kill. And, I mean, I get it, he has kids. His tone was calm, but his words were terrifying.
妻と娘が3人家で待ってるからね。
I have a wife and 3 daughters waiting for me at home. Mamiya-san's eyes widened. He must have realized just how serious he was. You did mention that you don't intend to die for your work.
だから皆さんの話をじっくり聞かせてもらったんですけどね。
Yes, that's why I listened to what everyone here said. Oh! Chat wasn't updating for a while. Let me catch up on what everyone's been saying. Ah, I see everyone's theories now. Yes, that's why I carefully listened to what everyone here said.
多分、先手を打って処刑を行うと、狼側に殺戮の理由を与えることになるんじゃないですかね。
And I think that lynching someone first would give the wolves a reason to start killing. That was a general observation that no one argued against. Probably because they didn't have a good comeback.
だいたいルールは飲み込めました。考えを言いたいですが、よろしいかな？
I more or less understand the rules now. Can I say something that's on my mind?
どうも。間違えてたら、君、詳しそうだから指摘してくれるかな？
Thank you. If I'm getting something wrong, you there, you seem to know how things work. So please point it out.
あ、はい。
Huh? Oh, okay.
じゃあ、この手続きでは、高確率で5人以上の死人が出ますね。最短でも狼3人と夜の死人が2人。
Now, in this process, at least 5 people will die, a minimum of 3 wolves, and 2 humans killed at night.
そうですね。雲の加護によって守られない限りは。
Yes, at least as long as the spider doesn't protect the humans.
つまり、今誰かを処刑しようがしまいが、夜に誰か死にますね。
That means someone will die tonight, regardless of whether we lynch someone today.
そりゃそうだな。
That's not wrong.
しかし、今日くくらねば、狼は減ることなく、宴は長引くのだがね。
But if we don't hang someone today, the feast will continue without any dead wolves.
それはおかしいですね。今日の処刑は明日カラスのカゴ車に名乗り出てもらうための処刑なんでしょう？
That's odd. Today's lynching is to let the crows show themselves, right?
狼は絶対出てこないと思われる。そりゃあ果たして有効なんですか？効果はゼロとは言わないが。
It's unlikely that it would be a wolf. Would it really be effective overall? I won't say it would be worthless.
考えてみてください。明日こう言われる。私がカラスのカゴ車です。昨日処刑された不妻子さんは人でした。
But imagine hearing this tomorrow. I am the crow, the one lynched yesterday. Usaishi-san was a human.
よしんば、不妻子さんは狼でしたときて、他に誰も名乗り出ないから信じてどうなる？
Now, even if it turns out he is a wolf, we would believe the crow, just because no other crows spoke up against them. What would happen then?
まだ14人残っていて、狼も2人残っている。狼に的中する確率は 19% 弱から 14% 強に減ってる。
We would have 14 humans and 2 wolves. The chance of getting a wolf would drop from about 19% to about 14%.
思うに、早かろうが遅かろうが、勝負がつくのは人数がある程度減ってからなのは間違いない。
From what I see, the endgame would be after some people have died, regardless if that happened sooner or later.
だから今日一人 何の確証もなく処刑するというのはどうかなと。
So I'm not sure if we should lynch anyone today without any evidence.
それはそうかもしれませんが。
Well, you might have a point.
それは詭弁だ。そうやってくくることがなければ人は絶対に勝てんのだぞ。
That's sophistry. We humans can't win if we don't hang anyone.
その通り。ただ、今日この時だけは待ってもいいんじゃないですかと言ってます。
Yes, but I believe that it's worth waiting for just one day.
今日、とりあえずで誰かを処刑すれば、狼側には本当に殺されるんだと殺戮を正当化させてしまいますよね。
If we lynch someone today, the wolves would realize that they really would get killed, effectively justifying their killings.
逆に、向こうが先に攻撃してくれば、人はその仇討ちを理由に団結できる。
Now, if they strike first, the humans could unite to avenge the victim.
繰り返しますが、今日の夜、確実に誰か一人が死ぬんです。処刑の有無に関係なく、狼が本気ならね。
I'll say it again. Someone will definitely die tonight, regardless if we lynch someone or not. That is, assuming the wolves are serious about this.
しかし、今夜の被害者を狼の報復と捉えるか、狼の卑劣な先制攻撃と捉えるかには、処刑の有無が影響する。
So I was hoping that maybe we'd get one line from Mako. But I'll go ahead and switch things back. Now that we've heard most of the voices. And hopefully there is the log, this log here. Let me see, does it? Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't hear them if they're all muted. I was hoping that maybe if you just select it, it would show it. But maybe down the line when there's a conversation happening with her, I'll put it back on so we can hear hers. However, the lynching today, or lack thereof, would change whether tonight's victim would be considered the wolves' revenge or their vile preemptive attack. Basically, I believe that we can't be strong enough to lynch people until the wolves kill someone. Personally, I hope that such restraint would make the wolves hesitate and not kill anyone. Is that possible? It's... no.
The wolf is coming.
I see. Even so, attacking someone when there's no victim is extremely stressful. I simply believe that sacrificing someone who is most likely human and sowing discord between us is much worse than simply letting someone die at night and unifying us. He had a point. As a general rule, it was disadvantageous for the humans to waste an opportunity to lynch. However, making a preemptive attack when you had limited information and the chance of getting a wolf was low was extremely risky. Thus, it was a good option to prioritize emotional superiority and unity. Not many people could argue against this. Hashimoto-san was just too good of a speaker. The opposite of Kinosuke-shi. His suggestion was beneficial for the wolves too, but only for now. It would be far more difficult for us to kill someone tonight. Upon hearing him out, I believe that Hashimoto-san has a point. We don't fully know each other yet. Killing someone in this situation would be a waste. I thought the same thing. The feasting is controlled primarily with information, right?
What do you mean, Kyu-chan?
You decide who is a wolf by taking time to see both sides, with who says something strange. Since you made it a rule that humans can't lie, the wolves, who must lie, will eventually slip up. It seems right to, lynch them once you find them that way. There might even be cases where a single clue can lead you to know who all the wolves are.
I see. Detective deduction. I don't know if it would go that well, but by observing what the wolves do and gathering information about them, you can pinpoint someone. And eventually avoid having to lynch someone, letting us catch up to them. And it's not like we won't learn anything today. The snake will surely find out whether someone is a human or wolf.
That's true. Maybe it's best to skip this day to avoid accidentally killing the snake.
Yeah, that would suck.
He presented the likely disadvantages that could emerge and provided ways to turn them around. It was really effective. Most here didn't want to kill anyone yet, but had to balance out the pros and cons of doing so. If they were told that the negatives could be made up for, they had no reason not to cling to that. Crap. I fell silent. Silent people were considered to be passive accomplices to the wolves. I had to say something. That does seem effective. There's another thing to keep in mind.
What would that be?
The wolves would definitely prioritize killing the ones with guardians, right? But if we lynch someone today, you would lower the amount of options for them to choose from. Now, if the potential victim of the lynching ended up being one with a guardian, they would have no choice but to reveal it. Since humans can't lie and wolves know each other, they would instantly know if the one claiming to have a guardian was telling the truth. But at this point, there's no benefit for those with guardians to come out. None of them have used their powers to gain any info. And they would only die to the wolves. Yes.
That is true.
Of course, it's not likely you would land a guardian, but if you hang humans, you would also lower the number of targets for the wolves. There are currently 13 non-wolves, and taking one away would leave 12. The wolves would choose one of them. And the lower the number, the higher the chance that they hit one with a guardian.
I'm starting to think that hanging on the first day does more harm than good.
I actually thought that this way of handling the wolves was good for the humans. From what I could tell, Kaori-san and Haru-chan would be found out sooner than later. I had my looping and was generally a scumbag, so I wasn't as shaken by the situation as they were, but my situation wasn't exactly solid. I could fall into traps set by the humans too.
What do you think, Takumini? I don't like that we're counting. I don't like that we're continuing on like the wolves will definitely kill someone. But I can understand not killing if we're not getting killed ourselves. Old man.
The wolves will kill.
Maybe. But still.
But I get what the big guy's saying.
What?
Vote on whether we hang someone today? That'll do. Uematsu, record.
Very well.
Oh, I forgot. Huh? You said that the monkeys don't have a reason not to reveal themselves, right? Yes.
They can assure one another's legitimacy, which makes them hard to fake, and they have no powers, which makes them unpopular targets.
I see. With that in mind, I am a monkey. As for the other monkey, the letters were unclear and hard to read, but it's something Da-san.
Yeah, I'm Chikamochi Kamoshida. I'm the monkey. I am the monkey. I am... Stop that!
I see. So you're a monkey. Pure relief. Yasunaga-kun was glad that his best friend was definitely not a wolf. Such behavior was a good way to guess whether someone was a wolf or not. Reactions were important. I guess that confirmed that this Hashimoto-san isn't just a wolf acting friendly. Can we start the vote? We gotta decide if we're lynching or not. No. We're deciding if we're hanging today or waiting until someone dies. Once they do, we're hanging people no matter what. Swear it. Yeah.
Well, I guess it makes sense. We can't just let them kill us and do nothing.
Taiba, you ready?
Yes.
No one has objections. I'm okay with it too. With no more counter-arguments, we began the vote. The results came quick. The only ones who voted to hang someone today were the old wolf guy and Kanzoshi. Everyone else chose to wait until the wolves made a move, so we didn't hang anyone today. And I'm going to quickly refill my drink. Be right back. Alright, I am back. Let's see. Oh, are you referring to Hashimoto? Yeah, he had asked the question and was probably prompted by the fact that he found that blood on his stomach, so he was like, what's this about? The dining hall was a much more pleasant place than it was in the morning. Yasumisu was a place full of decent people who readily accepted the idea that they wouldn't have to kill anyone today.
Oh, they aren't looking great.
Thank you, dear. The same applied to the wolves, or so I thought, but they didn't look so good.
That's an interesting science. You been to the seminars?
Yes, they were led by Kimiyoshi-sensei.
Kimiyoshi-san? I'm pretty sure a Japanese person I met in Lhasa was a college lecturer with that name.
Oh, that has to be him. He specializes in Sino-Tibetan languages, so he travels there every now and then.
I see. What a small world.
At least to people like you and him.
Another reason was Hashimoto-san. Once he stopped being silent, he turned out to be an extremely sociable and understanding. The dining hall would fall silent every now and then, so he walked around and talked to people, bolstering morale and seeming naturally suited to the role.
No, I love him so much. I'm gonna be so sad.
He wasn't exactly a jokester, but everyone who talked to him seemed to be having fun. He even got a faint smile out of Haru-chan.
I wasn't jealous or anything.
I did wonder why Chiemi hadn't told me much about her specialty. And honestly, I had no right to be jealous. I had already used my looping to get together with 2 women. Now, doing what I did back then seemed the best to do in those situations, and... Putting Haru-chan aside for a moment, both Chiemi and Rikako-san were really charming.
assigned dad by players.
Chiemi was a bit unhinged at her core, but Mitsuji wasn't all that different. Rikako-san was... fun, and her two-faced nature was kind of attractive to me. But, well, I really wasn't in a position to think about what came after the mist cleared. I wish to talk to you, Haruaki-sama. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit busy here. I'm sorry. My apologies. I was making dinner with Kaori-san. I'd invited her to do so, so we would be well fed and ready for tomorrow. Of course, this was to distract her from reality. I didn't want her unpleasant nature to take control and make her throw an aconite into the food. I took it upon myself to cut the veggies. As I worked, I watched what was going on at the dining hall. I could see most of their faces from the counter. Last time, the first day was relatively peaceful, but this day was even more relaxed. Tai-san's incessant prayers and Kanzo-san's continual state of high alert made it a bit uncomfortable, but that was it. One reason for the good atmosphere here was the fact that no one had died yet. But it was still possible that it was just some sort of sick joke. Another reason was the presence of the one who died all the previous times, Hashimoto-san. He was a master at helping everyone lighten up. I could even conclude Mamiya-san as a reason. Hashimoto-san was alive, and she wasn't a wolf this time, so she wasn't hysterical like in the previous loop. Though she was writing something with a troubled frown on her face.
Gathering material, I assume?
I'm not sure I'll turn this into an article, so I'll go with no for now. It was interesting, though.
The occult.
Yes. I just thought that the local story doesn't seem very Japanese.
Oh, I'm a bit interested in that.
Can I even talk about this? Won't my take on the local legends upset you? Who knows, I'm kind of interested.
I don't give a damn.
I don't have anything better to do. What about you, Richard? This is your thing, right?
No. Work concerning the divine is the Miguruma's responsibility. I would be lying if I said I was not interested.
Things were going just like they had last time. Everyone was interested in what she had to say, and she revealed her knowledge about god-slaying and servant worship. Susano O beating Orochi, Aesop's Fables, Yomotsu Okami, aka Izanami. Then Tai-san became upset, just like last time. The only difference was that I wasn't involved in the conversation. Okay, let's leave it at that. Now there's something that has me curious. I want you to tell me about the song that's sung here. Oh? She herself mentioned it, huh? It led to just about the same words as last time. Mamiya-san pointed out how the lyrics had a lot to do with the feast. She began questioning the parts she didn't understand, such as the badger and Kyonosuke-shi, among others, answered her.
Interesting, but... it's strange that the badger disappeared. I wonder why.
The thing I pointed out last time was now pointed out by Hashimoto-san. Damn. I was thinking that if that's something that he didn't bring up, that'd be to our advantage. He and Mamiya-san continued examining the relationship between prayer to Shinai and the feast. Tai-san mentioned that the badger was a servant of the Okami-sama, and that there was a statue in the Shinai shrine. She also talked about the late Gensan's words, the badger's waiting for the Okami-sama to return.
I have a bad feeling about this. What if there's a badger among us?
He raised the same suspicion as I had.
If Makishima-san participated in the previous feast, then this Gen-san must have been there too. They had a badger there, and he might have left that as an indirect warning.
Come on, Hashimoto-san. That's just a guess, right?
Well, I guess there's no conclusive evidence.
Now it's time for something new. Okami, Yomotsu Okami, great god. Hashimoto-san, I think I realized something amazing.
I'm listening.
This might feel abrupt, but do any of you know the origin of the name Shinai? He'd been curious about this in Kami Fujoshi too. What of it, though? I heard that Mount Shinai is officially Mount Sarunashi. Saru probably became Saru, while Nashi became Nashi.
That's wrong, Nosato-sama. Shinai-sama has always been Shinai-sama from the start. The authorities just changed the kanji in the Meiji period because it was hard to read.
The other way around, eh? So it was always Shinai. Yamawaki-san, do you know where it comes from? Yeah. Unfortunately, there is definitely some stuff that there's no way around not losing it in translation, unless you had like so many addendums and asterisks.
I don't.
It's probably a kanji trick. Mamiya-san ripped out a page from her notepad and put it on the table. Shin Nai. The Nai kanji is made up of the kanji for big and show. Big show. Do I have anything to write with? I do not. Wait, there we go. He wrote down the relevant kanji. When you switch them around... He wrote down the kanji for big, then show to the right of it, and shin to the right. The result was... To the left side of the kanji for God, there's a radical for show, and it's even more obvious in its old form. This means that the result, Okami, great god. Shinai-sama equals Okami-sama. Isn't that the intention? What?
Pure nonsense!
Kai-san shouted hysterically. You could hear in her voice that she was shaking up. Huh. Of course she would be. According to Yasumiso's legend, the humans and servants killed the wolves, the Okami-sama. However, it reinforced my theory. I had lots of clues that led me to think that Okami and Great Lord Shinai were one and the same. His use of the corruption was one thing. Another thing was the fact that he was neutral in the battle between humans and wolves, or Yomibito and wolves. Yet another thing was the local outlook on life and death. If people went to Yomi upon death, they would go there regardless if they were hanged or killed by wolves. That was why they said rise not. It meant go to Yomi and don't return. However, in the Shinai faith, the mountain was a place where corpses were buried, so it wasn't strange for it to be considered the same as the world of the dead. Anyway, Izanami lost her life after birthing many gods, and after a lot of trouble ended up becoming the goddess in control of the Nenokuni. Nenokuni? Another name for Yomi, the underworld. There's also Nenokatatsu Kuni. Some say it's somewhere beyond the sea, while others think that Nenokuni is just a place within Yomi. Maybe I was reading into this too deeply, but Nenokuni, country of roots, gave me an image of the underground of a tree-covered mountain.
Wait. Sure that's not a stretch? What's the point of hiding the great god side of Kami anyway?
Maybe they did it so there wouldn't be any confusion with the Obiwa shrine. Or maybe they warped it to incorporate it to Shinto. Or maybe they needed to hide the faith. Hide the faith?
They could have been in a situation where they couldn't worship the Okami-sama in public, so they had to hide it. They might have protected the faith by making it change shape, like how during the Edo ban on Christianity, early Japanese Christians worshipped Maria Kannan instead. Also, it's not unusual for a god's main servant to be confused for the god himself. This might not sit well with some of you, but legends and myths can change not just through borrowing aspects from other legends and myths, but also through political events. There was a time when myths and government were closely tied, so myths had to change whenever the politics did. If settlements merged, their gods would marry, while gods of places annexed through war would become the conqueror's god's servants or demons. Or maybe they'd merge separate gods into one. The people shaped them according to the power balances of their day. That's why powerful gods and devils have many other names, forms, and incarnations. These are remnants of long-forgotten faiths. The legends and myths that live to this day survive through countless such changes. Of course they would have contradictions. With that in mind, if you look at it from the perspective, the meaning of Prayer to Shinai changes a lot. Though I don't know the truth, of course. After all, the song doesn't mention anything about wolves or guardians being opposed to each other. That was true. Now, if Okami or Shinai-san was still on good servant-master terms with the 5 guardians, perhaps he gave the people the powers of the guardians and used the song to inspire them to fight Yomibito. In other words, among themselves.
He went that far? With this audience?
Apologies, but hearing that is not pleasant in the least.
Exactly. Don't talk like you know more than us.
Naturally, Rikako-san and Tai-san had something to say about that.
Oh, we are truly sorry. We are inquiring into these legends and myths because they seem credible. If they didn't, we wouldn't have participated in this and instead insisted on leaving and calling the police.
That's kind of what I'm doing right now.
I'd say you're half trustworthy, said Isawa-san. No one here is actually suspicious yet. But it just so happened that the badger was almost left out of the legend. With the legend, the feast rules were transferred through word of mouth. We're simply afraid that you two, despite your extensive knowledge of legends, happen to miss or forget something important.
It's true that I cannot deny the possibility completely.
Uematsu-sama. But...
Well, at its core, it's more simple than it seems. Yasunaga Oribe-kun, was it? Oh, yes. We agreed that humans wouldn't lie. But if there was a human that sided with the wolves, the badger, basically, he or she would surely die or do something drastic for the sake of the wolves, don't you agree? That's true. Even if it has something to do with the badger, we should be wary of such a case. But...
compulsive liars and allies to the wolves, even if they're human. We'll hang them on the spot, right?
Yoshitsugu-kun, who had been sitting at the corner of the room and staring at a wall in boredom, suddenly spoke up.
He wasn't wrong in the least, which was probably intended.
By Hashimoto-san. It appears we will have to avoid doing something we would regret.
That's true.
You don't have to tell us. We all live honest lives. Hinai-sama is watching over us as always.
I like that. It's a simplistic faith that brings out the best of humanity.
With that, I finally understood something. Yudai Hashimoto was the same type of person as me. He controlled people through speech and manipulated their emotions through words to put himself in an advantageous position. The difference between us was that his conscious presence and persuasiveness were far above mine. And he was a human, an enemy to us wolves. Haru-chan was in a seat near Yasunaga-kun and Mochi's, not saying a word. Pretending to pick something up from the counter, I crouched down and looked at Kaori-san. With her back to everyone, she cut veggies, and though her expression wasn't as bad as before, it was still full of anguish and unease. Time passed by as everyone chatted, ate a larger dinner than ever before, chatted a bit more, and split up. The only notable thing was the moment when Mamiya-san tried to ask Kanzo-san about the previous feast. Hashimoto-san stopped her, though. I noticed Haru-chan make a face, and a part of me was relieved by that. The previous feast took her parents, and it was the time she went into the mist and lived to tell the tale. It had been bad if she'd gone crazy again. Hashimoto-san seemed to have noticed that possibility, so he'd stopped Mamiya-san to prevent it. Was it really good to help him survive? A part of me actually believed that. Sure, without him, I had been a human and survived the feast, but it didn't solve anything. Becoming a wolf and making an enemy out of him was just an unfortunate side effect that came with letting him live, and I just had to accept that. After dinner, right when everyone was preparing to split up, Hashimoto-san whispered something to Takumi-san. Takumi-san's expression suddenly turned serious.
Hey guys, listen up.
Apparently Hashimoto-san had told him to say something? Apparently Hashimoto-san had told him to say something, and Takumi-san did exactly that.
We didn't hang anyone today. That's why, even if there are wolves among us, I want to believe they won't kill anyone tonight. If that happens, we won't have to hang anyone tomorrow either.
That ain't happening.
Maybe you're right. But if it does happen, it means that one of us will be gone for good. These will be your final moments together. Keep that in mind and tell them everything you have to. You'll have less regrets that way.
The bright mood suddenly changed. The mood turned heavy as everyone exchanged handshakes and gave their thanks to each other. Jamie, Haru-chan, even Yoshitsugu-kun became teary-eyed as Kaori-san said these words to her sons. If I'm gone tomorrow, live strong, you two. She was a wolf, but her words were so honest that they both listened without a word. The village heads here seemed lonely, giving Taya-san and Takumi-san fuel for doubt, while Mochi talked to the old wolf guy. There was a moment when their relationships became very clear. Oji-chan. One particular impactful moment was when Haru-chan approached her lonely-looking grandfather. Her eyes were still red from her goodbyes to Yasunaga-kun and Mochi. Oji-chan, if I don't wake up tomorrow, ain't happening. For a moment, it looked like he knew what she was, but then...
No way! You yourself said that the wolves will kill. Are you trying to be nice to me by lying to me alone?
Hanzo-san didn't know how to respond. A rarity for him.
I don't need that, so just listen. If I die, try not to drink too much, even if I'm not here.
Haru.
Aww.
Hanzo-san slowly extended his hand to her, but it was too late. Haru-chan had already turned around. The grandfather and granddaughter, both awkward beyond belief. After watching their exchange, I was actually relieved that Haru-chan didn't say anything she shouldn't have, which made me question my own humanity again. Yasunaga-kun must have been in a similar state of mind the first time. Feeling sympathy for the first wolf I'd encountered, I gave Chiemi, who'd approached to give her goodbyes to me, some half-hearted nice words. I'd done the same for Rikako-san, who finished the exchange with a silent but resolute farewell.
I'll forgive you for what happened during the day.
Don't want to leave any regrets floating around if we don't meet tomorrow, huh?
Yeah.
That was that with Haru-chan. The disgrace on my name was cleared, and she now neither disliked or liked me. Sorry for taking your time. Good night, people.
Takumi-san nonchalantly concluded the event.
Everyone silently began leaving the dining hall. I hope you come back too, Fusaishi-san. We were done with the after-dinner cleanup, so I had no reason to stay behind. I didn't sense anyone in the mist, but that was because I just couldn't. Not because there was no one there. Everyone was probably using this as a chance to have the secret talks they couldn't, or just silently listening for those. It was probably a good idea to thank him. I heard someone's voices near the stairs to the dorm. Mamiya-san was talking to Hashimoto-san, right where she died last time. And with that, I think we'll wrap up things right here. This has been a very great start, and I've been very happy to see Hashimoto-san, because I've been curious about his character for a long time. I knew he was going to play a pretty significant role when they made that clear distinction that there was a way for him to be saved and not, depending on the housing conditions. But thank you everyone for coming on by. I'll continue Raging Loop again on Wednesday at 8 PM EST. Then Friday and Saturday, it will be Final Fantasy XIV on Twitch at 8 PM. And then Saturday, it will be Animorphs at 9 PM. Hope that you have a wonderful time zone wherever you are, and as always, please do take care of yourselves and each other. Toodaloo-hoo!